Right, so trying not to have any agenda right now, and I'm hoping that YouTube Creates will help me do the editing better, because initially it was like you had to go to InShots and then do it over there, but I don't want to do that anymore. Yeah, I suppose I could keep it more conversational than the usual, like, sort of direct approach to just diving into whatever it is that I want to discuss about, because if I were to do that, then I would make it non-spontaneous, which I don't want it to be. I want it to be spontaneous so that I can basically sort of say whatever is coming into my mind in the moment, and I'm hoping that it'll make sense. All right, so one of the things that I'm trying to do right now is brainstorming. I just renamed one of my accounts after that word, because it's a verb which basically means that a bunch of people get together and they start coming up with ideas or like frameworks or paradigms that sort of verbalize the things that they've been thinking about. And brainstorming is this, it's basically this collaborative effort which in which you're supposed to be able to feel vulnerable whilst admitting something. Okay, I don't know if this framework works or not, but here are my thoughts. I mean, that's the idealistic version of brainstorming. It doesn't mean that everyone does do that. But my point is, my agenda for this particular thing that I've just started right now is to be able to brainstorm whilst being vulnerable of my thoughts on the platform, and sort of use that to just, actually, I don't know what the agenda is, but I think the agenda is solving problems in real time rather than hoping to have solved them at a particular time in the future and only then uploading the thing that you came up with onto YouTube or Instagram or whatever it might be. So yeah, I mean, it's sort of, okay, I'm going to take a pause here. All right, so here's what I've come up with, with respect to brainstorming. So one of the things that I've been doing is using, excuse me, I have to burp. Oh look, the burp didn't even surface. That's unfortunate. It's really sad when that happens. So, I've been using ChatGPT as an intellectual sparring partner in order to help me refine my arguments, because I find that my raw thoughts become clearer through conversation, and yet I want my opinions to exist in the real world. Much of human civilization is about communicating with each other and coordinating, and communicating is like probably the most essential part that comes in coordination. It's like people together are stronger than just one person, but in order for people to be like a community that is functional and is efficient at doing things, they need to be able to communicate with each other, right? And the unfortunate thing is that we live in an attention, we're slowly drifting towards an attention economy, or perhaps we're already there, in which unless and until you catch someone, at the first sort of resort, you're unlikely to be able to communicate the exact thing, the exact concept, the exact principle that you want to communicate. So YouTube in its entirety of the long form holiness of long form is way better at communicating ideas, even if you sort of speak for like 7 or 8 minutes. I'd say about 5 minutes, but let's just say it's 7 or 8 for this instance. But on Instagram, you have to like catch the attention of the person very, very quickly, right? Because essentially what you're doing is you're trying to convey the entire concept of what you're talking about in the first 2 or 3 seconds. And the overlay text serves that, it serves that purpose to a certain extent, but not always, right? So, point being that whilst I do want to brainstorm, I also want my ideas to reach to people in a way that they're not misinterpreted. Like, for example, I'm explaining something that for like 60 seconds, right? Or even 90 seconds. And the person like looks at my reel and he looks at like, maybe goes through like the first 3 or 4 seconds of it and just decides, just sort of extrapolates what I'm going to be talking about next, which might not always be the truth. And so this person could have resonated with my reel, but he didn't, just because the formatting, it's like I wasn't able to sort of convey the exact idea as the hook. Like, people talk about this thing, right? Like, you have to make your hooks seem attractive and whatnot, and that's all well and good. They are valid at some level of abstraction, but they don't really convey the gravity of the situation, which is that I'm freezing. Just give me a sec. I'm buffering. The gravity of the situation is that in an attention economy like Instagram, you need to be able to convey the exact point you're making in the first three or 4 seconds, and let the person who's watching your reel then relax into the explanation that follows after that, those first 3 or 4 seconds of the hook. And a lot of people sort of use this for like, for baiting. Like, they'll say this is about something, but it turns out to not be the case. So I think I'll definitely avoid doing that. But yeah, you get the picture, right? Like, from what I'm describing, it's basically about using the information that you have about how Instagram works or how YouTube works to sort of then refine your process of how you want to appear in the public eye. Like, YouTube is a more longer format kind of a thing, right? So, you can always come up with the argument that, look, you might not agree with him. You hold the same viewpoint as he does. You just haven't watched the entire video yet. But you can't do that on Instagram. So what I'm thinking of is, the advice that to just be yourself. That advice usually works when you're operating on non-divisive topics, right? Like artistic expression and whatnot. And those kinds of things people are actually more open to than any political opinion that you might be talking about. And so what I'm thinking of is of keeping one channel where I'm able to express myself, not one channel, sorry, just one channel where I'm scripting things, and the rest of the channels as places where I'm just able to freely explore my thoughts in depth. And yeah, so that's one of the things. So on one channel I'll have like discursive expression where I'm able to, talk about hot takes, which might be controversial, but they're so clearly put forth on Instagram that, misinterpreting them and, losing out on what I'm offering just because you misinterpreted it, that becomes virtually impossible. And all right, so here's the bigger ambition. The bigger ambition is I want my spontaneous speech to be as clear and as defensible as my polished version. So I think that's basically what I'm trying to do here. I think that's what I should be trying to do here. That, I'm using the privilege of not the privilege, okay, I'll have to be careful with my words here. The advantage of being able to post my stuff on YouTube and Instagram basically as things that will help me get rid of that anxiety that I'm not being perfect, right? So that's basically, you know, wanting the spontaneous speech to be as clear and as defensible, sorry about that, as the polished version that I'd be posting on just one of those channels. So the whole goal, basically, is to inhabit my authentic self, right? I mean, it's always said that the antidote to depression is expression. But expression to whom exactly? Is it expression to yourself? Is it expression to other people? The key ingredient in all of this is that the expression is authentic to how you are feeling at that point in time, right? It reflects the emotion and it reflects your values, meaning you would very well just say that exact thing if you were in any other mood. I mean, obviously, apart from the mood where you don't want to talk, that's a different thing. But point being that I think I wish to offer my knowledge to the world, but I can't do it if I'm chipping off on myself. And that can only happen if I'm being authentic on camera. And that requires me to get past the insecurities that I have regarding visibility, right? Did I say something wrong, or did I blah blah blah, so on and so forth. But I also have to take into account that not everyone is going to afford me that what's the word I'm looking for? Is it latitude? Yeah, I think it's latitude. Let me just Google that. I think it was used by Tom Cruise's character in A Few Good Men. Love that movie. Latitude. Yes, it was latitude. So, it means, I mean, the primary definition is, of course, the one that we deal with in geography, but the other definition is scope for freedom of action or thought. So not everyone, especially people on Instagram, won't be affording me that latitude, but I can assume that YouTube won't be as... YouTube would be much more freeing in that sense. And all right, so moving on to the next point. What is the next point? Let me pause for a second. Yeah, so the next thing is that what I'm really looking for is spontaneous clarity. And in that sense, I want the brainstorming channel to be just about, you know, revving up my neural circuits and just getting at it and sort of verbalizing it and sort of, you know, putting it down into words, vocalizing what I'm thinking about. And that channel would be relatively immune because I've just named it that it's a brainstorming channel. So, you know, you shouldn't expect any well-formed, clear thoughts here. And I think I'm going to keep YouTube for the same as well, at least for now, if not later. And so authenticity, right? Like going back to the antidote to depression is expression. The main focus there remains that you're able to express yourself authentically, which is probably the biggest part of the puzzle, to people. And out of those people, then they can, you know, sort of divide amongst themselves, the ones that like you and the ones that don't like you. But the main point being that you would have found your tribe by then, right? And so that's essentially what I'm aiming for. There was another quote that I was reading. Let me just pull up the screenshot. This is a brilliant account called The Career Archetypes. And so the quote is by Joel Uili. I'm terribly sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name. It's Joeluili. I think they wrote an article or a book called Love is a... Oh, no, that's the person. Oh, that's the person who runs that Instagram page, Joel Uili. So yeah, the career archetype. So he posted this carousel, which was that the vocation is fundamentally built on love. A love for one's existence and a love for others. And that's basically what I'm trying to convey here when I'm referring to authenticity, right? That you're able to express yourself authentically to most people, so that, you know, the ones who are truly your tribe get filtered in, and the ones who aren't get filtered out. And in that tribe, you will find not only love, but you will also find vocation. Because I think love supersedes vocation. Because as long as you can healthily form relationships, you can exchange services or goods or products or whatever it might be. I mean, you can exchange things or ideas of value and get something in return, because this tribe is now automatically going to be the one that values you, right? And that's why I really like the subscription options on Twitter and YouTube and whatnot. Those are like really amazing. I mean, they're basically, in some senses, democratizing the process of trading, right? Like I trade my good to you, and you, like, we transact value. Wait, I wouldn't say trading. Sorry, trading is the wrong term, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like, sorry, it's not trading; it's a market. They're basically democratizing the market economy, where you're able to, only for the specific niche of ideas and media and content, but they're still doing it, and that's like the biggest leap, I think, that's been there in ages, I'd say. And by the way, YouTube and Instagram and all of the social media sites, if you're listening to this, and if you then start charging us for like, you know, having subscriptions and stuff, I'm going to be very angry at you. And so the other quote by the same person was, "Do not seek comfortable work, but do seek transcendental work." I think these are like articles on Substack, if I'm not wrong. This particular one was on aiming for the celestial in one's vocation, which makes sense, right? Because if you're just seeking work that is mechanical, right, you're less likely to be able to bond and form a tribe, because all of the tribe members are going to be sinking in with the mechanical process that doesn't involve your personality, that doesn't involve your creative process, that doesn't involve your thought processes, that don't involve your values, basically. And that's like probably the biggest complaint every corporate worker or anyone who works in an organization has. And it's quite sad, really. And so this thing does offer me the platform to do that. Fortunately, I am one of those people whose most work happens inside the mind, and it's mostly analytical, and it's mostly, philosophy, psychology, sociology, social psychology, as well as psychological sociology, if that's a thing. So basically, I don't think I have like a concluding sentence. Let me check if I've got anything else to say. So the point being, I want my raw self to be my true self, in the sense that, and to just be able to get so practiced at regulating in front of the camera that it's virtually impossible for me to not be able to speak in the most articulate way, right? To be able to be so articulate, even in my raw self, that I don't need to have like 5 or 6 different channels. It's just me being one channel. But it's a process, and I want to go through the process to not just do what I've discussed right now, but also to sort of draw a clear distinction between the things I do and who I am. So like if Arush sings, then he's singing in that particular sort of reel. And if Arush is analyzing, then he's analyzing. If he's brainstorming, then he's brainstorming. So all of them are like different sort of aspects of the same self. And that's in the current moment, right? But in future, I hope when I've gotten enough recognition by my own tribe, I'm hoping that, they can see that as one, and I wouldn't have to put in as much effort in fragmenting the kind of work I do. So ChatGPT says that this is, merging your private and public selves. To unify them, it's achievable through intellectual muscle memory. So sparring leads to instinctive clarity, and the goal is spontaneous integrated precision. So I basically want to become someone whose unrehearsed speech is naturally coherent. And I think that there are a lot of things that are playing here, aren't they? I mean, there's the stage fright thing that I've sort of referred to when I talked about the insecurities. There are a couple of other things as well, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so I think I'm going to post this on Instagram because I've crossed the 20-minute limit. If any of my accounts do have the 20-minute thing, the 20-minute limit thing on the reels, then I would have posted it there. But since we're beyond 20 minutes anyway, I guess I'll just take a shot and make it like 50 minutes long. Why not? I mean, it's not often that I get to be as regulated as I am right now to be able to communicate with the camera, communicate to the camera. Oops, got a milk mustache. What else? What else am I thinking of? Let's take a pause. All right, maybe I'm just gonna make another video and then like post it. Oh, by the way, do not, when you're posting on YouTube, a trick I got to learn is that don't release it publicly till like 24 hours later, because apparently that gives the algorithm some time to sort of recognize the kind of content you've put out. Yeah, I'm gonna keep this one private for maybe, I don't know, till like 2 days. Yeah, and then I'll push it for public posting, public viewing. Ciao.